Ladies and gentlemen, there's a moment in the depths of the night when the atmosphere shifts, when the heavens seem to lean in closer, and when the Lord himself listens. That moment is 3 a.m., a time of divine alignment, spiritual encounters, and supernatural breakthroughs. The 3 a.m. hour is no ordinary time. It carries a deep spiritual significance that has been recognized throughout history. In the stillness of the night, when the world is asleep, the heavens are awake. It is the time when divine encounters take place, when revelations are received, and when the spirit realm is most active. There is something mysterious about this hour, something that pulls on the hearts of those who are sensitive to the move of God. In the Bible, we are said that God moves in the watches of the night. Many of the most profound moments of divine intervention happened when the world was covered in darkness. It was in the midnight hour that Paul and Silas, bound in chains and locked in a prison cell, began to pray and sing praises to God. The prison shook, the doors flung open, and every chain was loosed. It was at night that Jacob wrestled with the angel until the breaking of dawn, refusing to let go until he received a blessing. These moments were not coincidences. They were divine appointments, set in the secrecy of the night, moments where desperation met destiny and heaven responded. There is a reason why the early hours are often marked by spiritual activity. It is a time when distractions are minimal, when the mind is at rest, and when the heart is fully open to hearing the voice of the Lord. It is also a time when the enemy seeks to operate in secrecy, attempting to plant seeds of fear, doubt, and oppression. But God, in his wisdom, has given his people the authority to rise and take dominion in these moments. In the Bible, we are said that joy comes in the morning, but before the morning breaks, there is a call to pray through the night. Jesus himself modeled the power of prayer in the early hours. He often withdrew to desolate places while it was still dark to seek the Father. Before choosing his disciples, before performing mighty miracles, before facing the greatest trials, he prayed. His example shows that the 3 a.m. hour is not just a moment of waiting, it is a moment of preparation. Those who rise in this hour are being positioned for something greater. For many, 3 a.m. is the hour of divine nudging, a time when the Spirit stirs within, prompting them to wake up and pray. There are testimonies of people waking up at this hour without understanding why, only to later realize that God was calling them into deeper intimacy, into intercession, or into battle for their families and destinies. In the Bible, we are said that the Lord speaks in the night through visions and whispers, calling his servants by name, instructing them, and revealing mysteries hidden from the natural eye. This hour is significant. It is not just another moment in time, but a supernatural invitation. Those who embrace it will find themselves walking in greater spiritual authority, deeper revelation, and divine encounters that shift the course of their lives. There are moments when the heart reaches a depth of longing that words cannot fully express. It is a cry that comes not just from the lips, but from the soul, a cry that carries the weight of desperation, faith, and expectation. This is the kind of prayer that moves heaven, the kind that cannot be silenced by fear, doubt, or delay. When the heart calls, it is not bound by eloquence or perfection. It is raw, unfiltered, and deeply connected to the Spirit. It is in these moments when there is nothing left but complete dependence on God, that breakthroughs begin to unfold. In the Bible, we are said that deep calls unto deep, that there is a place in the Spirit where our cries reach the very depths of God's presence. This is not a casual or rehearsed prayer. It is the kind of cry that comes from a heart that refuses to let go until something shifts. Hannah, in her barrenness, poured out her soul before the Lord in such deep anguish that the priests thought she was drunk. She wasn't speaking loud words, but her heart was calling out in desperation, and God heard her. What she longed for in secret was granted to her in due time. Many have found themselves awake at 3 a.m., burdened with a weight they cannot explain. It is in this hour that the heart cries out, whether through intercession, weeping, or simply sitting in silence before the Lord. These are the prayers that break through the barriers of the natural and enter the courts of heaven. The Bible tells us that the Spirit intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words, meaning that even when we do not have the language to express what we feel, heaven understands. There is something powerful about a prayer that comes from the depths of a heart in need. Blind Bartimaeus, sitting by the roadside, did not have a long, elegant speech. He had a cry. He called out to Jesus, refusing to be silenced by those around him. And because of his persistence, Jesus stopped. His heart's cry became the key to his miracle. The same was true for the woman with the issue of blood. She did not even speak a word. Her desperation was in her touch, and Jesus responded to the faith behind it. The cries of God's people have never gone unnoticed. The Israelites groaned under the weight of oppression, and their cries rose up to heaven. God heard, and he sent a deliverer. When Peter was bound in prison, the church prayed earnestly, and an angel was dispatched to set him free. There is a pattern woven throughout Scripture. When the heart calls, heaven answers. Some prayers are whispered, some are spoken, and some are only felt in the deepest places of the soul. But each one has the power to move the hand of God. It is in these moments when the heart is fully surrendered that the supernatural is released and the impossible becomes reality. There is nothing more powerful than the certainty that God hears. When the heart calls out, it is not speaking into empty space or crying into the void. It is calling upon the one who created the heavens and the earth, the one who sees all, knows all, and is near to those who seek him. Prayer is not a ritual, it is a divine channel, an open channel between humanity and the throne of grace. When a believer prays, heaven listens. When a child of God lifts their voice, whether in a whisper or a shout, the Lord inclines his ear. In the Bible, we are said that before we even speak, God knows the desires of our hearts. He is not a distant ruler who ignores the cries of his people. He is a father who bends down to listen, a shepherd who hears even the faintest cry of his sheep. Hagar, abandoned in the wilderness with her son, lifted her voice in distress, and God responded, opening her eyes to see a well of water in the desert. He did not just hear her voice, he heard her pain, her fear, and her desperation. The same God who answered Hagar still answers today. Many wonder if their prayers truly reach God, especially in moments of delay or silence. But in the Bible, we are said that his ear is not too dull to hear, nor his arm too short to save. He listens not only to the words spoken, but to the faith behind them. Elijah stood on Mount Carmel, praying for rain after years of drought. At first, there was nothing, no sign of change. But he persisted, knowing that God had heard him the first time. On the seventh time, a small cloud appeared, and soon the heavens opened with an abundance of rain. Delay is not denial. Sometimes God is working in ways unseen, preparing an answer greater than what was expected. When Daniel prayed, his answer was sent immediately, but a spiritual battle delayed the response. Yet God had already heard him, and an angel was dispatched to bring the answer. There is an unseen realm where prayers are being contested, but in the Bible we are said that the fervent prayers of the righteous are powerful and effective. This means no prayer goes unheard, no cry is ignored, and no petition is forgotten. Jesus himself demonstrated the power of calling upon the Father. At the tomb of Lazarus, he lifted his eyes and prayed, thanking God for hearing him. He did not beg or plead. He prayed with the confidence that heaven was already listening. And in that moment, the impossible happened. Lazarus, dead for 4 days, came out of the grave. There is no situation too hopeless, no cry too weak, and no prayer too small for God to hear. He listens with love, responds with power, and moves in perfect timing. Those who call upon him in faith will never be disappointed, for he is the God who listens and answers. The spiritual realm is always active, whether seen or unseen. In the quiet hours of the night, while many are asleep, a different kind of movement takes place. It is a time of increased angelic activity and intensified spiritual warfare. The forces of darkness work to sow fear, confusion, and bondage, while the angels of the Lord are sent to guard, deliver, and bring divine messages. There is a reason why so many people wake up at 3 a.m. with a heavy heart, an unexplainable burden, or even a sudden awareness of a spiritual presence. It is because the unseen battle is taking place and the Spirit of God is calling his people to stand in prayer. In the Bible, we are said that angels are ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation. This means that divine help is always available, and God assigns his angels to intervene on behalf of his people. When Peter was imprisoned, bound in chains, and watched by guards, the church prayed earnestly. In the middle of the night, an angel appeared, struck off the chains, and led Peter out of the prison unnoticed. It was not human effort, but divine intervention that set him free. This is what happens when prayers align with heaven. Angelic forces move, doors open, and the enemy's plans are overturned. While angels are sent to bring deliverance, the forces of darkness work to hinder breakthroughs. In the Bible, we are said that we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, and rulers of darkness. This battle is not fought with physical weapons, but with prayer, faith, and the authority given by God. Daniel experienced this firsthand when he sought the Lord in prayer. His answer was dispatched immediately, but the prince of Persia, a demonic principality, resisted the angel bringing the response. It was only after divine reinforcement was sent that the breakthrough came. This reveals that some delays are not denials, they are spiritual battles that require persistence in prayer Jesus himself spoke of the reality of spiritual warfare. When he prayed in the wilderness, angels came and ministered to him, strengthening him for the journey ahead. When he cast out demons, they cried out in fear, recognizing his authority. And on the night of his betrayal, he told his disciples that he could call upon legions of angels at any moment. This shows that the kingdom of God operates with divine order, with angelic hosts waiting for us. Prayer activates these assignments, releasing God's will on earth as it is in heaven. The 3 a.m. hour is often marked by dreams, visions, and divine instructions. Many testimonies tell of people receiving warnings, prophetic insights, or sudden urges to pray at this time. In the Bible, we are said that God speaks in the night, sealing instructions and directing the steps of his people. When the Spirit stirs in the early hours, it is a call to engage, to war in the Spirit, and to stand in the gap. Those who rise in obedience will witness the power of God moving in unseen ways. There is a way to unlock the supernatural power of 3 a.m. prayer. It is not about randomly waking up and saying a few words. It is about understanding the moment, aligning with the Spirit, and engaging with heaven. This hour is a divine invitation, a moment where the veil between the natural and the supernatural is thinner, allowing access to realms of breakthrough, revelation, and warfare. Those who seek God at this hour must come with an expectation, knowing that heaven responds to those who diligently seek him. In the Bible, we are said that those who seek God early will find him. This is not just about a time of day, but about a posture of the heart, a willingness to rise when the world sleeps and press into the presence of God. Jesus himself withdrew to pray in the early hours, demonstrating that some revelations, some instructions, and some encounters require stepping away from the distractions of the day. And the stillness of the night creates a space where the voice of God becomes clearer, where the burdens of life are laid down, and where divine mysteries are revealed. Faith is a key that unlocks the supernatural. In the Bible, we are said that without faith, it is impossible to please God. Those who rise in prayer at 3 a.m. must believe that they are not merely speaking words into the darkness, but engaging in a divine conversation. There are many who pray but do not expect results, and because of that, they do not see answers. But when faith is activated, mountains move, barriers break, and what seemed impossible becomes possible. Blind Bartimaeus had no proof that Jesus would stop for him, but he called out in faith. The woman with the issue of blood had no guarantee that touching the hem of his garment would heal her, but she acted in faith. The same principle applies to those who wake at 3 a.m. and believe that their prayers are shifting things in the Spirit. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a supernatural moment, a divine window that exists in the spirit realm, a time when the heavens are open, angels are on assignment, and the power of God is ready to be released. That moment is 3 a.m. There is a divine mystery hidden in the third watch of the night, a time when heaven and earth align in a supernatural way. This is not just another hour in the day. It is a spiritual gateway, a moment when the atmosphere is charged with angelic activity and divine interventions. Many people sleep through this sacred time, unaware that the realm of the Spirit is more active than ever. But those who rise at 3 a.m. to seek God tap into a power that shifts realities and opens the floodgates of heaven's peace. Throughout the Bible, we are shown that the night watch is significant. When God delivered his people from bondage, it was in the midnight hour. When the prison doors flew open for Paul and Silas, it was in the night. In Bible, we are said that the Lord moves in the darkness, performing wonders that the human eye cannot comprehend. The enemy knows the power of this time, which is why he operates in secrecy, launching attacks when the world is at rest. But those who stand in the gap at 3 a.m. become watchmen, intercepting the plans of darkness and declaring the dominion of God over their lives. The natural world reflects the spiritual. Scientists have found that between midnight and early morning, the human body reaches its lowest energy point and the mind is most vulnerable. This is the time when fear, anxiety, and restlessness often creep in. But it is also the time when God whispers secrets to those who are listening. In the stillness of the night, distractions fade and the presence of God becomes tangible. The noise of the world is silenced, and those who pray at this hour experience the deep peace that comes from encountering him face to face. Jesus himself demonstrated the power of praying in the night. In Bible, we are said that he would withdraw to desolate places to seek the Father, sometimes spending the entire night in communion. If the Son of God understood the necessity of meeting with the Father in the early hours, how much more should we? It is in these moments that our spirits are strengthened, our burdens are lifted, and divine strategies are revealed. Many who have stepped into this discipline testify of supernatural breakthroughs. Chains of depression are broken. Generational cycles are dismantled. Battles that seemed impossible suddenly turn in their favor. This is because 3 a.m. is not just a random hour. It is a spiritual window, a portal where heaven invades earth. The forces of darkness cannot stand against a believer who rises in the power of God at this time. The question is not whether God moves at 3 a.m. The question is whether we will rise to meet him. Those who answer the call will walk in a level of authority and peace that the world cannot understand. The midnight hours are not just moments of stillness and rest. They are battlegrounds in the spirit. While the world sleeps, unseen forces are at work, waging war over destinies, families, and breakthroughs. The enemy is strategic, moving in secrecy, planting seeds of fear, doubt, and oppression while people remain unaware. But those who understand the power of 3 a.m. prayer know that this is the time to rise, to stand in authority, and to dismantle every scheme of darkness. In Bible, we are said that the enemy prowls like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. He does not wait until the sun rises to attack. He operates in the shadows, in the quiet moments of the night, hoping to catch believers off guard. Many experience tormenting dreams, sleepless nights, and unexplained anxiety during these hours, not realizing that they are in the midst of spiritual warfare. But God has not left his people defenseless. He has given the power to tread upon serpents and scorpions, to cast down every stronghold, and to break every chain that seeks to bind them. Throughout history, the greatest deliverances took place in the night. When the Israelites were set free from Egypt, the spirit of death moved through the land, but those covered by the blood of the Lamb were untouched. In Bible, we are said that at midnight, Boaz awoke and found Ruth at his feet, a divine encounter that led to a generational blessing. When Daniel sought answers, his prayers caused a shift in the heavens, and an angel was sent in response. In Daniel, second annual, but the angel revealed something critical. The answer had been delayed because of a battle in the spiritual realm. There was resistance, warfare taking place that was unseen by the natural eye. This is why 3 a.m. prayer is not just about words. It is about warfare. It is about engaging in the fight for your family, your purpose, your peace. The forces of darkness do not stop their attacks simply because we are asleep, but when a believer rises in the night to pray, to intercede, to declare the promises of God, the powers of hell are shaken. The enemy loses his grip because light always overcomes darkness. Jesus himself demonstrated this when he prayed in the garden before his crucifixion. The disciples slept, unaware of the magnitude of the battle unfolding in the Spirit. But Jesus stood, pressing into prayer, preparing for the victory ahead. In Bible, we are said that his sweat became like drops of blood. This was not an ordinary prayer, but a battle in the Spirit. If Jesus had to war in prayer during the night, how much more should we? There is no peace without victory, and there is no victory without battle. The greatest breakthroughs happen when believers refuse to be passive, when they rise up at the appointed hour and take their place in the Spirit. The enemy hopes we stay asleep, but those who understand the times know that 3 a.m. is the hour of divine intervention. There is a realm beyond the natural, a dimension where heaven and earth connect, where angelic visitations are released and divine strategies unfold. The hour of 3 a.m. is not just the time of prayer. It is a moment when God speaks, reveals, and aligns his people with his perfect will. Throughout history, those who sought him in the secret hours of the night encountered his presence in ways that changed the course of their lives forever. In Bible, we are said that Jacob, in the stillness of the night, wrestled with an angel until the break of dawn. He refused to let go until he received his blessing, and in that encounter, his identity was transformed. What would have happened if Jacob had chosen to sleep through that night instead of pressing in? Many people unknowingly sleep through their moment of breakthrough, missing divine encounters simply because they do not realize the power of the night watch. When Daniel prayed, an angel was dispatched with the answer to his request. But there was resistance in the spiritual realm. The prince of Persia, a demonic force, fought to delay the response. Yet Daniel persisted in prayer, and reinforcement was sent from heaven to break through the opposition. In Bible, we are said that God commands his angels concerning his people to guard them in all their ways. But there is a partnership between heaven and earth, a divine alignment that takes place when believers choose to engage in prayer at the appointed time. The night has always been a time of divine visitations. In Bible, we are said that when Joseph, the earthly father of Jesus, was troubled, God spoke to him in a dream, revealing the next steps he needed to take to protect the Messiah. The wise men were warned in the night not to return to Herod, preserving the divine plan. Even in the story of Samuel, when he was a young boy, it was in the night that the voice of the Lord called out to him, leading him into his prophetic destiny. When believers rise to pray at 3 a.m., They are stepping into this supernatural flow, a moment where the heavens are open and divine downloads are given. Strategies for the future, direction for major decisions, and answers to long-awaited prayers are released. Those who seek God in these hours begin to experience a heightened sensitivity to His voice, an ability to discern His will with greater clarity. Jesus often withdrew in the night to pray, setting an example for His followers. It was not because He lacked time during the day, but because He understood that certain things are unlocked in the stillness of the night. The distractions of the day fade away, the noise of life is silenced, and the presence of God becomes tangible. The Spirit becomes attuned to heaven's frequency, and those who seek Him in this time encounter a level of intimacy and revelation that is beyond human understanding. There are moments in life when it feels like invisible chains are holding you back, preventing you from stepping into the fullness of what God has planned. These chains can come in many forms: fear, anxiety, financial struggles, generational patterns, or unseen barriers that seem to block every breakthrough. But there is a time in the Spirit when these chains can be broken, when the weight that has held you down for years can be lifted in an instant. That time is 3 a.m. prayer, the moment when heaven moves and the power of God is released to break every limitation. In Bible, we are said that Paul and Silas were thrown into prison, bound by chains and locked behind bars. In the natural, there was no way out, no possible escape. But at midnight, they did something powerful. They prayed and praised God. Suddenly, the foundations of the prison shook and the chains fell off. Every locked door swung open, not just for them, but for everyone around them. There was a supernatural release, an immediate breakthrough that could not be explained by human reasoning. This is what happens when believers rise in the night to seek God. Chains that have held families for generations begin to break. Burdens that have weighed down hearts are lifted, and supernatural freedom is released. There are people who have been fighting the same battles for years, struggling with the same cycles, feeling like every step forward is met with resistance. What if the answer has been waiting in the secret place of 3 a.m. prayer? In Bible, we are said that when Peter was in prison, the church prayed earnestly for him, and an angel appeared in the night, striking off his chains and leading him out of captivity. If Peter had remained asleep, if he had not responded to the voice of the angel, he might have missed his moment of deliverance. Many people remain bound because they are unaware that their breakthrough is waiting in the place of persistent, intentional, and strategic prayer. There are spiritual forces that work against the destiny of God's people, creating barriers and delays, but no power of darkness can stand against the authority given to those who pray in the name of Jesus. In Bible, we are said that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God for the pulling down of strongholds. When a believer rises at 3 a.m., they are not just praying empty words. They are engaging in spiritual warfare, commanding every chain to break, every obstacle to move, and every demonic assignment to be canceled. There are testimonies of people who, after committing to 3 a.m. prayer, saw long-standing battles suddenly shift. Legal cases were overturned. Sicknesses were healed. Financial doors opened, and peace entered homes that had been filled with turmoil. This is because the early morning hours are not ordinary. They are a spiritual gateway where prayers are heard, battles are won, and the supernatural peace of God is released over his people. There is a kind of peace that cannot be explained, a stillness in the soul that remains unshaken no matter what storms arise. It is not the temporary peace the world offers, which disappears the moment trouble comes, but a supernatural peace that flows from the presence of God. This peace does not come by accident. It is found in the secret place, in the moments when the world is silent and the heart is fully surrendered before the Lord. The hour of 3 a.m. is a divine invitation to step into this peace, to leave behind the burdens of the day, and enter into the rest that only God can provide. In Bible, we are said that those who seek the Lord will find rest for their souls. When everything around seems chaotic, when the mind is filled with worries and the weight of life feels unbearable, there is only one place where true peace can be found: in the presence of God. The enemy knows this, which is why he fights to keep people distracted, exhausted, and too weary to pray. But those who push past the weariness and rise to seek God in the early morning hours experience a peace that transcends understanding. Jesus often withdrew to pray in the night, not because he needed rest for his body, but because he knew the power of communion with the Father. In Bible, we are said that before facing the cross, Jesus went to pray in the garden. Though his soul was troubled, though he knew what was coming, he found strength in the presence of the Father. The same peace that sustained him through suffering is available to every believer who enters into the place of prayer. There are many who struggle with anxiety, fear, and restlessness, unable to find relief. Sleep may come, but the heart remains heavy. Some wake up feeling as tired as when they went to bed because the burdens they carry do not lift with physical rest. But when a person chooses to meet God at 3 a.m., something shifts. The presence of the Lord begins to fill the atmosphere, washing away fear, silencing the lies of the enemy, and replacing them with an overwhelming peace that cannot be shaken. In Bible, we are said that God gives his beloved rest, but this rest is not just physical sleep. It is a deep, unshakable peace that comes from trusting in him. Those who make prayer a priority in the early morning hours begin to see the evidence of this peace in their lives. Situations that once caused panic no longer have the same power. Thoughts that once tormented the mind are replaced with confidence in God's promises. The presence of God becomes the anchor that holds them steady in every season. No matter what battles arise, no matter what uncertainties lie ahead, there is a place of perfect peace available. It is found in the secret place, in the quiet moments of prayer, in the stillness of 3 a.m. when heaven meets earth and the heart is completely at rest in the presence of the Almighty. There is a divine acceleration that happens when believers align themselves with God's timing. The 3 a.m. hour is not just about personal breakthroughs. It is a moment when destinies are unlocked, when delays are broken, and when the supernatural moves swiftly on behalf of those who seek him. Many people pray but wonder why answers seem delayed, why opportunities seem just out of reach, or why cycles of stagnation continue. But there are mysteries in the Spirit that only unfold when a person positions themselves at the right time in the presence of God. In Bible, we are said that when Peter had been fishing all night and caught nothing, Jesus gave him an instruction that changed everything. Though he had toiled without results, one moment of divine intervention caused his nets to overflow. This is what happens when a believer steps into the timing of God. They may have struggled for years, but in a single moment, everything shifts. This is why 3 a.m. prayer is not just another spiritual discipline. It is an act of faith, a positioning for divine acceleration. There are countless stories in Scripture where people experienced sudden breakthroughs after seeking God in the secret hours. In Bible, we are said that Joseph was imprisoned, forgotten, and waiting for years, but in a single night, everything changed. Pharaoh had a dream that no one could interpret, and suddenly Joseph was remembered, called out of prison, and positioned in a place of authority. What seemed like a delay was actually divine preparation, and in an instant, he stepped into his destiny. There are many who feel like their time has passed, like they have waited too long for their breakthrough. But when they rise in the night to seek the Lord, they step into a realm where delays are broken, and what was meant to take years happens in a moment. In Bible, we are said that Elijah prayed, and after years of drought, the rain came suddenly. He had sent his servant to look for a sign, and though at first there was nothing, he kept pressing in. On the seventh time, a small cloud appeared, and in an instant, the heavens opened, and abundance was released. This is what happens when persistent prayer meets divine timing. At 3 a.m., the spiritual atmosphere is open, and those who step into it with faith begin to see answers manifest at an accelerated. There are many who have felt stuck, as if they are walking in circles, seeing no progress. But the moment they begin to engage in strategic prayer in the night, doors begin to open that no man can shut. What was held up in the Spirit begins to be released. Promotions that were delayed come through, financial breakthroughs manifest, and long-awaited prayers receive an answer. The key is consistency, refusing to give up, and pressing into the presence of God in the early hours when heaven moves and destinies are rewritten.